Yo, welcome to 49ers Coast to Coast. I'm still in Oakland. You're in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. Javi's in the background somewhere. If you know who Javi is, then you know. You should probably know. How you doing, Jason?
I probably look like death right now, but that's only because I've been working. That's it. Like last night, I went out. We're hanging out with some of the people that big wigs, some scouts. So I'm wearing the Salute to Service 49ers hoodie. And somebody walks up to me and says, "Dude, can I buy you a drink, man?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "So what's your role with the team?" I was like,
Quality control.
I was like, "Podcaster." It's like, oh, he was like, I just assumed because all the guys that are down here for the 49ers are in the same Salute to Service hoodie. And I was like, yeah, sorry to disappoint you, buddy, but it's my specialty. So,
and you got a free drink out of it. That's pretty cool.
Sure did.
Yeah. So what is there to do in Mobile at night? Like, where does everyone kick it?
Downtown. So there's a place called Draft Picks. That's where like a bunch of the guys from ESPN hang out. There's like yeah, and then like there's it's like right near where all the players are, and that's where all the agents are. So like you do that, and then like yesterday in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, Mike Tomlin was around walking around. He's scouting his new quarter. He's scouting his new QB, his offensive line, and yeah. So it's cool.
He's got Jimmy, right?
I was trying to yell at him like, "Yo, man, for the small price of a first round pick, you could have a winner."
All right, look, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Niners' plans at various positions. We're going to talk about the Senior Bowl standouts first, but we got a question from Chris. If I'm A. York and getting anything less valuable than what any offered for Jim before the draft, fire Lynch. Also, if contractually able, I'd take play calling away from Shady. Damn, this season was not a success. All right, let's go one at a time.
Right.
What did they have offered from New England before? A third?
A second.
A second. Oh, I don't know if they're getting that second, Jason.
No, I don't think so either. I think the third would be best case scenario at this time.
Yeah, if they could get a third, I'm not even sure they would get that. But if they could get a third, take it. Take the damn third.
I think they will. I think that because of what I've seen here in Mobile, this quarterback class is very weak. So
people like Malik Willis, but that's about it, right?
Yeah, Malik is QB1. Like, here's Malik, and then there's a sizable gap to the next person. So
is Matt Corral there?
No, he's hurt.
He's always hurt. And he's hella little, right? Yeah,
right. He might be a pick for like the Lions at the end of the first or something like that. Like where they just say, "Hey, let's try it." But I'm look, I'll tell you who I don't like. Ritter's not good. Pickett's all right. But it's like Malik and then everybody else, and there's a sizable jump down. So like that's what I mean is now that I'm evaluating more.
Is Carson Strong there?
Yes.
Him? No. Okay.
Like, I mean, I sent you the film. You should.
All I know is that he completed 70% of his throws in Nevada. Like, I don't know what that.
You should like take a look at the film. When you see it or whatever, you'll see it. You'll see the same thing.
So the second part of this was take play calling away from Shaney. I assume to give it to Mike McDaniel.
Yeah. I don't think they will.
I don't know if that's going to help. If that's the fix to Kyle, whatever he's doing in the fourth quarter.
Is Mike McDaniel going to make him go for it on fourth down?
Is Mike McDaniel going to get the ball to Debo in the fourth quarter? That's the thing. Like Kyle, it can be such a good play caller, but then it's like he's a different person in these big moments. I don't understand how you can't get the ball. I still will never understand how he couldn't get the ball to Debo in the fourth quarter of either loss the last 2 years. And I think that's why Debo was crying. I don't think he can understand that. Like he could have dragged him to the Super Bowl if they just would have let him, in my opinion.
And like a lot of the things that I had issues with when I watched it back on the plane ride, because I did watch that god awful tape, is the just we're gonna run on first, run on second, but it wasn't putting you on schedule again. Like you weren't gassing them, right? Yeah. Right, and it's like the Rams sold out to stop the A and B gaps. So
yes. What's up, Javi? Hey. All right, that Niner guy says Jason watched Jermaine Johnson FSU.
It's hard not to watch Jermaine Johnson. That is the guy right now. Like he went from a guy that's like nobody's mocks to a first round. Like he's out of the 49ers range. They're not getting him, but he's incredible.
Okay, Jason, here's what I want you to do for me. You're at the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. You're scouting, and you've been doing this. Please break down the players that should be on the Niners radar, and do it for someone like me who literally knows zero about these prospects and is just starting his research now that the season's over. Because I think a lot of Niner fans kind of are like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And all of us got a late start.
Like, I don't know their names. I don't know their positions. I don't know their schools. Introduce me to some players.
You're good. Like, look, we all got a late start because the 49ers made a run. Like last year, after about week 11, we all just turned the page and we were just like, okay, here we go.
Who are the quarterbacks?
Right, exactly. Like, what are we doing here? But you have to look at it like this. What do the 49ers need? Okay, what's the position they need? And so we'll say corner, line. I think edge is always something that they're going to be looking at and something that they always want to build on, depending on where that goes. I think those are
safety to nickel couldn't hurt. I'm just saying.
Right. Maybe a punt returner, because one guy that I've got in my mind is a wide receiver that would help a lot. And I think that he's been very good. Somebody that fits and complements, right? Like there's like everybody's talking about Christian Watson. He went to NDSU. He went with Caitlin. Right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Now everybody's talking about that. It's now that you look at him and I got a chance to watch him, he feels redundant with Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
Right. Like the same thing.
It does seem like wide receivers a little bit down the list of needs for the Niners at this point.
Yeah,
they got three good ones. Although one's a running back half the time. I don't know. Anyway.
No, but 100%. You're right about that. But Calvin Austin III is somebody who's a wide receiver, but he's 5'8", right? He's 5'8", and everybody's like, oh, I don't like his size. But you're not thinking about how the 49ers could utilize him. So what we've been seeing here is a guy who catches those same passes like Debo. He's got a little shiftiness and he moves and he's a little bit faster, but punt returner. And he also like housed a bunch of punts. So this special teams unit needs somebody who can put them in favorable position. And they haven't had that the entire time. So there we go. And now I'll pass it to Javi, who definitely has a bunch of people. So let me get on mute. I mean, even though we're both on the
Thanks
same.
For jumping on Javi, who's in the same room.
Yeah, we're in the same room. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So talking about the Senior Bowl, obviously Jermaine Johnson had himself a hell of a day. I didn't see him lose one rep. Not one. Is that you, Jason?
Yeah.
It's me?
You got to mute. You got to mute, Grant.
Okay. Better? Better? That's
go ahead.
What it is.
Go ahead.
Grant, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Is he frozen?
I'm frozen? Uh-oh. Figure this out. What's wrong?
Okay.
Did the whole show fall apart?
You're good.
We're good?
I can hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. What happened to Jason?
He's right there.
Oh, I can't hear him. Oh, he's muted. Boom.
He's on mute. Okay, so yeah, we figured it out. Okay.
All right, we got it.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, the Jermaine Johnson was the guy who stood out. He didn't lose one rep. You got the safety from Texas A&M, Leon O'Neal Jr. He had himself a good practice. The Niners are going to need a safety. We don't know what's happening with Kowalski. The corner group, Gregory Jr. out of Cheetah Baptist. He had some nice, really, really good reps. But I think the guy that the Niners should really pay attention to is Roger McCreary. I know there is an issue with his short arms, but they had him mostly lined up in the slot. We don't know what's going to happen with K'Wan Williams. I think that's the guy that the Niners really, really need to take a look at. Can they get him at 61? I don't know. That's where the Jimmy Garoppolo trade comes in, right? If you can acquire another pick to move up and possibly get yourself another slot corner or just another corner. The edge group or the defensive line group is just really good. Tyreek Smith out of Ohio State, Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, and then Jesse Luketa out of Penn State as well. Some really, really good guys, the size. Oklahoma had two guys here that were represented pretty well. I'm going over my notes here. Sorry, I just had to number 98 for the – I'm trying to find him here. His next name is Perion from Oklahoma. He had himself a really good day. This class is not as loaded as last year's class. So, they're going to have to find some really good gems in the middle. And I think we know the Niners can do that. That third, fourth, fifth round is kind of where they're going to want to do that. But at the very least, they need pick 61, and I think it's 93. Those two guys need to be starters on this roster in 2022 because you have all these holes to fill in free agency. You need to get cheaper because of the bigger contracts for Armstead, Warner, Kittle, and those guys are going to have. on the on just the salary cap next year. So you need starters out of this draft class, not do what we did this year in 2021, where we're like, yeah, we're just going to develop everybody and wait till week 12 to get guys in going. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a better development program for these rookies with the Niners. But a lot of guys to like. Zion Johnson's another one. I think the Niners need to address the center position. Alex Mack is almost 40. It's time to start getting younger. And I always had this question about Kyle Shanahan with centers. Like he had Daniel Kilgore, then he trades him away for not Daniel. What was his name? Richburg. They get Richburg, and then they go with Ben Garland, then they go with Alex Mack. Like they have a revolving door at center. Like, can we get a young guy and develop him to be the guy that's going to run with Lance for the next 5, 6, 7 years? So I think that'd be an idea to go get a center with that second selection in the draft in the third round. Like I would go if I'm the Niners, I'm going safety, center, and find myself a nice edge rusher in the later part of the draft because you don't need Haley Bukum. You'll probably bring back Key. You'll probably bring back Amenahu. Yeah, like you'll bring back those guys. Amenahu be here because he still has one more year left in his contract. So if you can get yourself a deep an edge rusher late in the draft, that's kind of the way to go. That's how I would do it. Safety, center, edge rusher, and then spend a little bit of money in the free agency pool for just a middle of the road corner. You don't need an elite corner. So hopefully Ambry Thomas develops, and I think they'll bring back Jason Verrett as a depth guy. We don't know how that's going to work out, but safety, center, edge would be my order.
All right. Anything you want to add, Jason?
No, I mean, I think he nailed it. One guy that I have my eye on is Cam Taylor-Britt from Nebraska. He's a 6-foot corner as well too. What I really like, I have to watch him a little bit more in coverage, but what I like is how he defends the run, and that's something that is really good as well too. He's a big guy who wants to hit. I like him a little bit as well too. It was really hard yesterday because it was pouring rain the entire time. It was so bad, and it was hard to evaluate. Receivers, quarterbacks, like the ball was slipping, sliding everywhere. Like it wouldn't stop raining the entire time. Like we were just getting rained on the entire day. But though, I mean, all of those guys that Javi talked about, it's absolutely true. And then, those guys that we talked about, Calvin Austin is a guy that was put on to me. And then when I watched him a little bit, I start to see where he fits. So I'm going to naturally gravitate towards offense. Javi's much better at evaluating, the actual team needs. I want to see like the big pop guys, like who's going to do that. And it's just one more thing I got to say, and I don't want to come off disrespectful, but this Senior Bowl group, this draft class, it's like, unless there's some guys that are just going to do something that nobody can see, this one doesn't feel as exciting as last year. Like last year, we were looking at 10, 12 guys where we were like, look at all of these guys. And a bunch of them ended up being very, like Elijah Mitchell was here last year. Yeah. And that was one of the guys that we had like lower on the list, like Michael Carter, all these other guys, and it's just, I don't know what it is about either this draft class or this Senior Bowl class. It's just like, it's not as exciting right now.
All right. Kyle says, do you guys think they could trade McGlinchey and play Compton more at right tackle next year?
I don't, like the thing is like, I think that McGlinchey injury is a little bit more serious than people are leading on at this point. And look, Tom Compton was fine, but the last 2 games, that was Tom Compton right there. Like Green Bay and the Rams, that was Tom Compton. So like that's the thing. It's like everybody wanted to say, well, it doesn't matter about McGlinchey. Well, you see, like it's still Tom Compton.
Better than McGlinchey, though? I mean, it's not that I'm not saying Tom Compton's better than him, but like, can't you get better than that? I mean, I guess you're already committed to McGlinchey.
You can get better than McGlinchey, of course, but
yeah.
For what he is, he fits what they need as far as a run defender. He's not the worst in pass blocking. I know he's had his miscues. Like he'll have 55 good snaps, but then the 5 that he misses are at the worst time. It's like 3rd and 6, and Jimmy's taking the sack, or he's got a false start, or he's holding somebody, he's riding somebody around the corner. There is a tackle here that is getting a lot of attention. Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. That's a guy to look for. He would be a good fit based on some of the film I saw. So that would be an ideal start there. Like you can probably get him later on in the draft because he's coming from a smaller school. But I would not feel comfortable going with Jalen Moore or Tom Compton next year at all, like starting. Now, is McGlinchey's quad tear more so the muscle, or was it just like the tear from the bone? That's the difference. That's what they haven't told us yet, right? You do a little bit of research on it. Guys who usually tear that quad muscle don't ever recover, and I think part of that is like they don't ever recover to full health. And we already knew I said Jimmy. McGlinchey had his limitations as a right tackle. How much does that hinder him going forward? Right? Is that going to help him? I'm sorry, is that going to make him worse as a pass blocker and a run blocker? And you have $10 million invested in him. Could you trade him? I don't know if anyone's really going to want to trade for a guy who's got an injury like that, right? Do you cut him? It just depends on how severe the injury is. So it's just one of those things. I think offensively, they need to, obviously Trent Williams is going to be here. You need to resign Lakin Tomlinson, and that entire center to right side needs to be reworked, especially if you're going to get rolled out with Trey Lance next year. And you're going to have the money to do it. So go ahead and spend. You want to spend on the trenches on defense, go spend on the trenches on offense, because that's the only way you're going to win in this league. It always comes down to the trenches. We saw it on the NFC Championship game. Aaron Donald and those guys were just mauling the right side of the offensive line, and you need to upgrade all those guys.
I like how real quick. I like how when he was about to mention limitations, instead of he immediately mentioned Jimmy by accident. Like I love how that's the thing.
Fook me said I thought D'Amico pulled out because Harbaugh was for sure getting that job and he knew it. Shocked when Harbaugh stayed. Wonder why D'Amico didn't want the job. I was kind of shocked.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I don't know why D'Amico didn't want the job, but like, if everything that's going on right now with like Brian Flores, doesn't it seem weird that like that would have perpetuated exactly what he's talking about? A guy who didn't even have to interview, he's going to pull up and get the job.
Yeah.
Like maybe exactly. Harbaugh didn't want that smoke.
Hey, boom! There you go. That makes a lot of sense. Trey Niner says, "Why can't McGlinchey move to guard?" He's not
because it's not Madden.
Yeah, he's not the body type for it. He'd be a better fit at tight end than at guard, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about the Niners' plan at various positions in flux, like nickelback. K1, good player, free agent, 30. What do you think? They bring him back? They bring someone else in? They gotta find. You can't shut down Cooper Kupp. I don't even know if you can find someone. I put out a tweet saying the Niners have to find someone who can hold their own with Cooper Kupp, and everyone was like, "Ha, it doesn't exist." Okay, well, that's the team in the Niners' way right now. Is there anyone that they can find that's an upgraded nickel?
I mean, in free agency, I'm not certain. I haven't really deep dived on that, but I mean, they have the guy that they drafted, Lenore. Like, I mean, everybody when Lenore was drafted said, "Okay, this is K1's replacement." It's just he got miscast early on when he was actually playing outside. It kind of fooled a lot of people into believing, "Oh, okay, this guy can play on the outside." I still believe that he's still he's a nickel, true to heart. The only thing that I will say about this, love KK, New Jersey boy, but in coverage. It got a little exposed sometimes. Lenore's going to have to try to figure out how to replicate his run defense and his run fit. And that's the hard part, right? Because I think that a lot of people forget that about slot corners is it's not all about coverage. It's about your run fits. And then remember, Saleh used it, D'Amico used it, those blitzes where they were perfectly timed. Like, can he replicate those things? So I think what Lenore has in coverage over K1, he has to make up for with his run defense. And I think that's the part that'll be missed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I kind of think they'll bring Jason Verrett back if he's healthy and put him inside, right? Because he was able to do that in 2020. They did that a couple times where he could play slot, right? Or you slide him in Mosley down into the slot. He did that as well in 2020. So they have some flexibility there. Free agent guys that are worth a shot or worth looking at. Chris Harris Jr. He's not the youngest guy in the world, but he's very well experienced. He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Cam Jackson out of Denver as well.
Okay.
And you got, let's see here, Jimmy Smith from the Ravens. Joe Hayden will probably be a free agent. So there's options here that'll probably be low cost guys that will give you some upside over K1. Now with K1, we all knew before the season. When he was a free agent, the Jets didn't pass him for his medical, right? And we all knew KK was dealing with knee issues all year. So that's another issue. You want to get younger and you want to get healthier. I think that's the biggest thing with the secondary. You can't keep going back to this well of guys who have knee issues and they're going to be banged up here. My calf is that. You got to get younger and you have to get cheaper. But this whole 2021 season felt like just a biggest hoorah, last hoorah for this group, and this is gonna be a revamped offense and defense next year. But K1, I would not bring back.
I also think they got to prioritize coverage over run defense at the nickel. Like the Niners have been bringing in safeties to play nickel for a long time because it was a run first division forever. But now Arizona doesn't run the ball very much. Well, I don't know that they don't. The Rams don't run the ball very well anymore, and I don't even know what the Seahawks are. So I think you really need someone who can cover these guys in the slot because Hopkins lines up there, Kupp lines up there. Got to have someone like who's at least. I like the idea of someone like Verrett, someone who's your number one corner who can move in the slot when necessary, like Carlos Rogers did 10 years ago. Someone like that. I don't know. Hard to find guys like that, but that's the plan. A better nickel. Better nickel. Write it down. What about strong safety? What is the plan at strong safety? Tar's pretty good when he's healthy, but again, like K1, 30, misses time. Is it finally? Is Hufanga? What's the plan? I don't know.
No, man.
I don't want to do that either, like in the coverage thing with Hufanga, man. Like, all right, look, I get it. I get it. You know, you like how hard he plays. You know, it's easy to just say he's Palomalu because he's Polynesian, right? Like, that's just the lazy take, everything. Like, yeah, and he knows him, so it's easy to say that. But it's clear they have a plan with him. They want him, right? But they need to draft a guy in coverage. And look, it happened in various times. Like, look. Say whatever you want about Tart. Say whatever you want, right? Obviously, he knows that he should have made that play. Everybody knows that. But at various points during the season, there weren't plays that were over his head. And also, for everybody who's complaining about that play in the NFC Championship, they're not in the NFC Championship if he doesn't run down Aaron Jones before the half so Jimmy Ward can block that field goal, right?
That's true.
Like, you guys need to, like, put everything into perspective. Tart's not coming back, I don't believe.
Okay.
So now you have a youngster who plays fast, right? Like, and he wants to play downhill, but still has a lot to learn in terms of coverage. And it's all on film for everybody. Like, anybody who wants to look at it, like, there's times where he takes one misstep in one direction is the difference between you making a play and you getting burnt over your head. So
wasn't that happening against Arizona and at Levi's a little bit?
It happened in Arizona, and it happened in the Minnesota game. That second Thielen touchdown, touchdown, he takes a misstep, and Thielen notices it, and he stops his route, and him and Kirk have that synergy, and boom, Kirk put it on a touchdown. Like, that's the type of stuff that, like, he needs to learn, right? I mean, look, who knew that rookies get better with reps? Imagine that, right? So, like, let's just see. Yeah, I know, right, Grant? A crazy thing, right? But for my money, I know that they are going to go for Hufanga, but they need a guy that immediately can cover, right? And that's the problem. Like, you just mentioned all of these guys that the 49ers are going to have to cover. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins, Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods will probably be back. Now, although Beckham will probably still be there, right?
Higbee.
So, Higbee. Like, all these guys you have to cover. So, it's what are you just going to stick to your plan and not notice deficiencies and just say, okay, like, we hope this guy develops, or are you going to take a stab at somebody who can actually, like, really cover immediately? That's the scary part for me.
Is Tavarius Moore in the picture here at all? I know he's saying
who I was going to bring up. Tavarius Moore.
Go ahead.
I mean, is he back to his, what did he run, a 4.3 in the draft? Is he back to that speed after an Achilles tear? Is he correcting his mistakes with angles? Is he correcting mistakes in coverage? I know we saw the stuff in the Bills game in 2019 where he's supposed to be playing palms, cover 4, and he completely whiffs, leaves Sherman on an island by himself. He had a lot of miscues. Has he fixed that stuff with the whole season off where he can just study? We haven't really got an update on Tavarius Moore. He's kind of the forgotten guy here. If I were the Niners, if that was my only options, Tavarius Moore and Hufanga, I'm going with Tavarius Moore. But in this draft class at 61, or if they were to move up, three names. Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State, Leon O'Neal Jr., Texas A&M, and Jalen Petrie out of Baylor. So, like I said, safety is my target in this draft class. The Niners know they need to get a safety. You got Jimmy Ward. He's solid. He's one of the best in the league. If you compare him with a guy, a strong safety that can both cover and run defend and has some speed, those three names are the guys that would fit perfectly for this defense. Now, Tavarius Moore, does he give you that ability to run 3 safeties? And Tavarius Moore played corner, too, for a little bit. What about those possibilities? So they have some flexibility with Tavarius. Is he a free agent yet? No, he's not. Is he? No, he's not. He's got one more year left.
Might be a free agent.
He might be a free agent, but you could probably get him back on the cheap.
Yeah, I would think you could get him back. I mean,
Yeah.
hold on, let me count to 4 real quick. Yep. I think he's no, but I just hope the plan isn't Hufanga, Moore, and cross your fingers. I would like, as Javi pointed out, to make a significant investment in this position somewhere in round 2 or round 3. I think that would be you could use a starter. I'm not sure that Hufanga or Moore is a starter. Not sure. Javi agrees. That's why he left. Oh, he's back.
No, you don't have to say you're not sure. Like Hufanga's not a starter.
I don't think he is.
Like,
so yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
people like him because of
Tart is, but he's also in the K1 Williams group. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He's older. He still plays really good ball, but Hufanga's not a starter. I knew that before they even drafted him. Like, this guy is going to be a special teamer, in my opinion. And that's exactly what he said when he got drafted. I want to be a Pro Bowl special teamer. Like, he knows his role. And I don't want the Niners to like ruin this guy's career because they got him playing strong safety and he can't cover these guys.
Like Adrian Colbert, right? Where they're trying to pump up a late round safety because of this or that. Like,
yeah, like I think Hufanga's a solid role player. If you need him in a pinch, he can do that. But do I want to start him for 17 games? Absolutely not.
All right, and it's funny because it's funny real quick because like they were highlighting him picking up the fumble and not highlighting Tart running down Aaron Jones. Like, and I'm like, bro, like, look, I mean, obviously picking up the fumble and running it.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, man. Like, what? Like, why are we not highlighting the hustle play? Like, Tart ran 40 yards the other way to catch a guy that would have scored a touchdown, and that accounted for like 75% of Aaron Rodgers' passing yards in that game.
True.
But the guy picked up the fumble and they ran it in, and they were just like, oh my God, look what he did. It's like, bro, Jordan Willis blocked that.
It's true. Okay, what is the plan at running back? I mean, are the Niners going to add some? Are they going to re-sign Mostert? Are they going to actually incorporate Trey Sermon into the offense? Are they going to give Elijah Mitchell 30 carries a game next year? What's the outlook here?
I hope they don't, but I will say this, and I think Javi's the one who made the point too, so I'm just going to steal it before he says it, and then he can like reiterate it and like, and just like, jump on it. But like,
once again,
but like Lance, Sermon, and Banks, they all feel unison in terms of like how all this works, right?
Okay.
Like Sermon's not built. Yeah, Sermon's not built to run outside zone like that, right? So like, and I think that Banks doesn't fit in that as well too. So if you want to get into this power zone read inside thing, it'll be that. I actually do think that Mostert does come back too, though. Like, I'm starting to warm up way more to that, like, because when you like, again, we talked about it, Grant. Yeah. You notice how much he's on the sideline, and remember, like, the human element. The Niners are the ones that gave him his shot. Yep. And he fits so well with Shanahan's scheme, right? Like, foot in the ground, one cut, all those things. So I think it'll be a bunch of them together. Like, it won't be Elijah Mitchell 30-something times. And look, Elijah Mitchell had an amazing season. Didn't fumble one time. The vision problems started popping up again in the NFC title game a little bit more, right? Like, when the hole's not clearly defined and you've got to make your reads, he's a little bit more skittish. So, Javi, you can jump in now and reiterate, the point that I stole from you.
No, it's all right. Sermon and Banks feel more gap scheme related, right? So if Kyle wants to run multiple looks on offense, he can utilize Elijah Mitchell for his outside zone or Mostert for his outside zone. And then if he needs to pound it in the middle with gap scheme, you got Trey Sermon. That's kind of what Aaron Banks was in college. And I don't know if anyone's paid attention to Aaron Banks the last 3, 4, 5 weeks when he's on camera. He looks like he cut down weight. It looks like the Niners asked him to lose some weight to be more agile in this gap scheme and outside zone look. Grant, you were at training camp. He looked pretty heavy. He wasn't getting to the second level fast enough. Runs were getting stuffed back there. So hopefully his weight loss does help him with the gap scheme and outside zone. But I think part of those first 3 picks were all designed for Trey. Like, there's a different offense that Kyle wants to run with Trey. We saw some of that with the Texans game, the second half of Seattle, and then against Arizona. There's a little bit different things here. And then with adding Mostert back, go back to the Raiders game in the preseason when they're running Jimmy out there, moving Trey in. Just the threat of holding Trey there for a read, and then Mostert just takes off. Like, there was gain after gain after gain after gain. You're going to want to have that guy there. I think
Raider game,
300 miles. Yeah, the Raider preseason game.
Yeah.
So I would go Mostert, Mitchell, and Sermon, and I would try to find one of these late round running backs. Like today, Dameon Pierce from Florida. Yesterday, one of the better pass blocking running backs in the draft. You're gonna need that. So you want to have some things there, and he's got some good speed, good hands, very very efficient. So if I'm the Niners too, I'm finding 2 or 3 running backs in this draft, and I'm not drafting them undrafted because Kyle finds gems later on in the
You owe it
draft.
to yourself to bring these guys in because you're so good at finding them. Well, one more thing I want to say about Mostert real quick. I'm excited to bring him back. He's going to turn 30 in April. Here are his career stats: 284 regular season carries. That's like a season. 5.7 yards per carry. Then the playoffs, 53 career carries, 6.3 yards per carry. I love Raheem Mostert. I hope his career isn't over. It's been such a flash in the pan, but it's been so glorious. And I'd like to think he has one more year in him, because if he does, then Debo has a much longer career. He doesn't have to play running back anymore. It's a nice little domino effect.
And I think that when you look at Raheem Mostert and you look at the come up, right? Team to team, right?
Hell yeah.
He worked his way through special teams. I think that it fits in with the gritty nature of the culture that they're trying to build here as well too. So when you notice him on social media pulling for his guys on the sideline still, I really just feel like I really don't remember, and somebody will probably remind me, later on, a guy who has been injured who pulls for his guys that much and wants to be a part of things. So I think that there is still an inkling to I want to be here. I built everything that I have here. And also, I don't know if he'll be as successful somewhere else in another scheme like this, right? I think all of this, right, exactly. Yep. And look, Breida, Ahmed went and he was okay, somewhere else, but he fits perfectly here. So
yeah.
And real quick, when you bring Mostert back, you're going to limit Debo's touches in the backfield. Thank God, because he's going to get paid, and you want to preserve him as much as possible. Debo took a pounding this year. Now, is he able to handle it? Of course. But do you want to do that to your potentially $23 million wide receiver?
No.
Probably not. So you're going to want to make sure you want to make sure you have a stable running backs. Are you going to use Debo sparingly in that situation?
Yes, probably. But
but I don't want to,
twice, not 8 or 9 times. Yeah.
I don't want to see Debo getting 9-10 carries a game because they were so shorthanded on running backs that Kyle didn't trust. Debo was out of necessity in the NFC Championship game. That was an out of necessity thing because Mitchell was dealing with MCL sprain or tear or whatever the hell it was that was going on. So I hope Debo gets his touches in the backfield, but make it 2 or 3 in a game because you're able to run the ball effectively with a Trey, with Mostert or Mitchell or Sermon or whatever it is you're doing. I don't know, when you get a quarterback, your wide receivers complete wide receivers. I don't know. Crazy idea, right?
I think so. That Niner guy says so. Something I think they should do is trade Jimmy for a starting cornerback or high-level guard since the position is devalued. Bad draft class after the 32nd pick. Well, that leads us into our last position. What do you think the Niners' plan is for Jimmy Garoppolo? How are they going to handle the trade?
Well, it's clear that they're going to work with him, right? You heard the press conference, and our reps are working. The 49ers are not going to send him to I'm going to say a team name, but I'm talking about a situation
a Jackson
send him or Cleveland, right? They're not going to send. Yeah, they're not going to send him off to football
Siberia,
right? Exactly, right? They appreciate what he's done, right? They appreciate what he's done. They are going to do the right thing by him, right? They are, and that's good. So that means
I'm with
right.
that.
We've seen reports, and you know what's funny about the people leaking the possible teams he's linked to? It's the same teams that all of us people who don't know anything have been linking him to the entire time. The only one that was added was Tampa Bay, only because Tom Brady decided to retire, which I'm not even fully.
I want to say that Mike Evans would not stand for that for 2 seconds.
No, Bruce Arians will blow his brains out. Bruce Arians will blow his brains out.
No, I don't. But there are some teams that I could see actually talking themselves into this. So.
Right. No, Tampa is not one of them. I still don't see the fit. Look, say what you want about Jameis Winston, and Bruce Arians put up with the picks because he threw the ball down the field. How is he going to work his offense with Jimmy Garoppolo looking like a guy running down the field and saying, "Nah, man, I'm just going to take the check down"?
Mike Evans would flip out.
Yeah. So Mike Evans has the NFL record for 1,000 yard seasons in a row to start his career. That would end.
It would end.
That would probably end.
Oh, it would.
Not in Tampa. Right. So no Tampa, but Pittsburgh, Washington.
Let's talk
those.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
To me, Pittsburgh is the natural. Here's why. I think they want to go back to being the blue-collar run-first team that they were before Ben Roethlisberger got there. They drafted a running back in the first round last year, and he's the kind of guy who you could actually give 25 carries a game. They have the defense. They could tell themselves, we'll send a third-round pick to the Niners for Jimmy Garoppolo, and we'll have him for 2 years, and we'll draft a quarterback, but at least we'll have this guy, and we can say we can win, because of our defense and run game, we can win 10, 11 games with him. Look, to me, Pittsburgh is the most likely, and that's why they're the favorite in Vegas.
Right, and that's a team that we've been talking about, like mostly, right. But like when we've done this. And I mean, when you look at how that offense operates, there's a reason Deontay Johnson has 300 receptions every single year, right? It's because everything is intermediate. Like you literally don't have to change anything. But Javi has a different opinion, and I'm gonna let him talk on it. And it's just based on, all right, so look, Jimmy built up a lot of goodwill here. And he built himself a leash, right? But I'm gonna lead that, and I'm gonna toss it up to Javi so he can finish up because he makes a really good point here about Pittsburgh.
All right.
Yeah, I mean it's Pittsburgh, right? You're going in to replace Big Ben. Big Ben has 2 titles. They have not had a losing season in 15 years or whatever the number is. Pittsburgh. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm a Pennsylvania native. That market is much more volatile than say the 49ers beat writer market, right? He's going to be asked these questions. He's going to be put under the microscope. Do I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a bad player? Absolutely not. Jimmy Garoppolo is a product of the Kyle Shanahan system. But I think Ben Solak said it best. Jimmy Garoppolo is a product of the Kyle Shanahan system, but the team who trades for him is only getting Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Can the Pittsburgh Steelers mask his deficiencies the way Kyle Shanahan did? I don't think so.
No one can. No one can. No one can.
So I don't think there really is a legitimate fit for Jimmy Garoppolo anywhere.
Right.
Just because most teams.
If I were Pittsburgh GM, I would say no thank you to Jimmy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think most fan bases, even down here in Mocha, we've been talking about it a lot. There's guys from every fan base around here, and no one wants the guy. It's crazy. No. But there's
third choice, right? Everyone wants to see what happens with Rodgers and Wilson. This guy's not getting moved until those guys. There's some clarity.
Exactly.
There, right? And why would Pittsburgh move on Jimmy when you could get Russell Wilson?
Yeah, or you go cheaper, and we saw Mike Tomlin literally have like a 45-minute conversation with Malik Willis out of Liberty, the quarterback. So they're looking.
Are they in position?
They could probably get Malik Willis at 24, wherever they're picking at. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Malik's not going to go in the top 10. Yeah. So there's, this thing's going to draw. I think this thing's going to drag out right up until the draft with Jimmy on the Niners roster. And I've said it before. I said on Niners Nation, there's a world where Jimmy might just get released. And that's the worst case scenario because you're not getting anything back for him.
See, to me, if I were them, I would take whatever I could get as soon as possible. If someone offered a third round pick tomorrow, I would say yes, thanks. Let's do it. Let's agree.
Yeah.
Here.
So it's just one of those things with Jimmy. And then there's another part of this, like, remember the Kyle Shanahan, he's like, I don't want to be left at the altar. There's going to be teams that don't want to be left at the altar in this quarterback market. So, yeah, they might end up getting desperate and do something wild, like give a third or a second for Jimmy Garoppolo, because these franchises view Jimmy Garoppolo way differently than the fan base or you and I. They're, if they can see some level of stability that he can create or maintain while they're trying to make the transition, that's why Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense too in that sense as well. Because Ben's gone, but I have this really good defense and I have some really good skill players, but my offensive line sucks. But if I traded a third round pick and I just focus on my offensive line in the first 2 rounds, then I can kind of mask this guy and then stay 8, 9, 10 wins.
And then get a new
while
quarterback.
I'm looking for the next guy. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's the only reason it makes sense. Yeah. But honestly, if we can just Malik Willis, do that. That's better.
Yeah. And then Jimmy's career, and I hate to even say it, but Jimmy's career is going to turn into Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point. Like that's where he's headed. Yeah, he's just a bridge guy, stopgap guy, super lovable guy. The fan base will love him. You'll win a bunch of games, and then you'll have like the Niners fan base where you have guys like me and Jason and you. We're looking at the process over the results, and then you have other fans who are like, oh, well, he wins a whole bunch, but you only won because of this, these other reasons before you get to him. So if I'm the Niners, I take whatever someone is willing to offer and just go, just do it.
It's going to be hard because it's not going to be a 2, and people are going to say like, "Oh, well, you lost on this deal. You took a 3, whatever, man. Whatever you got out of him, and you got a 3, and move on. Just move on."
Yeah, and this reminds me of the Alex Smith situation in Kansas City. But Alex Smith was a better quarterback, right? So that's why he was able to get 2 seconds out of Washington, and then he went to Washington. They were winning games before his freaking ankle and leg exploded. So, It's the Jimmy situation is just really, it's going to be really tough for any team to really sell themselves on it, because if fans like you and I and Grant, you're journalists and stuff like that, but if fans can see the deficiencies in Jimmy Garoppolo, what makes you think a scout or another NFL GM doesn't see it? That's why I never bought the idea that the media is trying to hype up.
Everyone knows what Jimmy is at this point. There's no disagreement. Everyone knows what he is at this point. So any team that wants him is going to be like, well, we can do what the Niners do. We can run the ball. We can play defense. We can minimize his mistakes. Well,
exactly. And then the other part is
Super Bowl, though.
The other part of this is like when you hear fans or you hear other media people like Jimmy's value is at an all-time high. It never changed. Like it's been the same the entire season. Like who's trading for 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions or whatever it was, or 12 interceptions? No one's trading for that. No one's trading for that. It's just I don't know. It's gonna be a really weird offseason. There's gonna be a lot of change around the coaching staff, players, everything else is gonna be really wild this offseason.
They better wrap this up quick. They better not let him stay on the market too long, or else it get weird.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Also, to put a bow on everything, because I knew that's where he was going, is that different fan bases are going to view him in a different way. Different organizations are going to view him in a different way. He built up all his goodwill because when he came here, he had never lost a game, and then all of the things that happened, have accentuated the conversation around him. To put a bow on this, Grant, and I know that we're not necessarily done speaking about this man, Jimmy Garoppolo. Thank you for everything. Appreciate you, buddy. I'm done discussing him and what his limitations are, who he is, what's going on. It's done. It's over. I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's done. Trey Lance is playing next year. Move on.
No, I want to say one more thing before. I don't want to talk about that.
That's your business.
I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is 2 more teams that I think we got to mention: Saints and Texans, because neither one has a coach. So we'll see we don't even know what direction those teams are going to go. We'll see what coach they have. They could potentially be in the market, considering that the Saints have Taysom Hill and the Texans have
Davis Mills, baby.
Davis Mills. So yeah, those are 2 more teams. I think we can move on.
We talked to a Houston guy yesterday, and he said, no, I'd rather roll with Davis Mills and progress with him.
Smart. Good man. I love it. Scotty says easiest way to stop Coop is getting home with 4. Yes, of course. But still, I think it wouldn't hurt to probably upgrade it at the position that is directly lined up.
Even when they were getting home before, he has 100 every single game.
If there's anything this front office has taught me, always be upgrading. Do not get tied to players on this team, because the 49ers have shown you they do not give a crap about player loyalty and everything else. They were going to go find the best player they can for upgrades. Now, the Jimmy Garoppolo situation is completely different, but they're going to go ahead and make a move if they need to, right?
That's John Embry.
With Kilgore to Richburg. Yeah, Embry, that's different.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. But Angelic Ambition says move Huff to linebacker, let Dre walk next year, and Harris this year, move Ward to the slot and make a move for Marcus Williams, re-sign Tart. Thoughts? Wow, that's Angelic Ambition.
Hey. So all of a sudden, ESPN, so whoever's writing for them, says that an off-the-radar trade target is Dre Greenlaw. I wonder who floated that idea on this show and got absolutely decimated and destroyed, right? Because you can't trade all your good players. Remember week 17? Listen to what I was saying. He has value, and people believe he does. He got injured again in the NFC Championship. You have to move him while you have a chance, and don't pay him because he's been injured so much and other things. Like, we can talk about tape and film, but it's funny how people are now coming around to this idea that Dre Greenlaw should be moved because Azeez Al-Shaair was so good. Like, say sorry. Say sorry. Like, I read your comments. You guys were mean.
Take it back.
With the Greenlaw thing, it makes perfect sense to move him now, right? That's another position they need to draft anyways. Get another linebacker. Keep that room cheap. You have your all-pro guy, but you need a complimentary piece. If you can get Al-Shaair for the cheap, and when I say cheap, $4 or $5 million deal, boom, now you go get yourself like a Quez Jackson out of Georgia Tech. Quez Jackson's another guy that will fit this defensive system. I'm already in draft mode, but Quez Jackson is a guy that I like for this team that could possibly fill in that Greenlaw, Azeez role, the Harris role, and moving Hufanga down to linebacker is not a terrible idea, but he is smaller. He's going to get wrapped up by offensive linemen who get to him in the second level, same way Marcel Harris was when he was playing there. So there's some issues with that stuff. But yeah, Greenlaw most definitely is on the market. There's no way that they're not looking to move him for an additional pick. The Niners need picks. They got 41 free agents. They need to reset this roster and they're going to do so with the draft, and they're going to find a couple frugal, what did Jonathan say? Aggressively prudent options in the free agency market. That's what their plan is, and how they're going to operate.
Trey Niner says easy fix in the secondary is to draft a top safety, put Ward and nickel on packages, get rid of Tart, and get a top corner free. I don't want to move Ward to nickel. I like
only that easy.
I like him at free safety. I want to get a guy who's like 23 and really athletic, like a second or third round, a real athlete who can play in the slot. Otherwise, I feel like you're playing zone against Cooper Kupp. You don't. What's the point of even trying to match up if you don't have a premium athlete there?
And I don't like the whole like get rid of Tart thing or whatever. Like, you know, like it's not about.
It's not like he's going to be expensive. I mean, to me, if you could bring Tart back on the deal that you got him on this year, where it was like vetman, nothing guaranteed, why would you not bring him back to camp? Because he's going to end up winning the job and being good and outperforming his contract. He'll miss some games, but still, it's better than having 17 games of Tavon Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just again, I'm pretty certain that he wants to be here, but I just don't think that they want him. That's the issue more than anything. They just want Hufanga for like that's their guy. You have to remember, Tart's not their guy. They didn't draft him. They're just kind of like moving through with him. When they draft their guys, whatever it is, they're dead set on them. They want them to win.
All right, let's talk about this John Embry thing. I talked about it. I thought it was really weird. I didn't like it. I thought it was a slap in the face to ask him to take a pay cut. But I don't want to moralize about that. I did that already. What I want to talk about is who do you think is going to be the next assistant head coach of this team? It's clear they didn't want him to be that anymore. They wanted to free up that spot for someone else. Who is it going to be and why?
It depends on if he takes the job that we think he's going to take, but Mike McDaniel? I mean, I don't know. So you mentioned
he's already the OC though. Like, what does that do for him?
But what I'm saying, Grant, is what exactly does the offensive coordinator do when Kyle's calling the plays and Kyle is running the show, right? Like,
he says, "Oh, so, call. Good call."
Right? Yeah, good. Yeah, like
he echoes it like the hype man in the rap concert.
That's my thing. It's like McDaniel's good at figuring out where to change little things, and that's why everybody's so high on his mind and everything as well too. But if McDaniel doesn't take that Miami job, why does it feel like this is kind of up for him? D'Amico can't take that spot. D'Amico can't take assistant head coach. He can't, because he's like the engine behind the defense right now, right? Like with the way that he's scheming things up. So McDaniel sounds like somebody that I think is fitted for it, but that's if he doesn't take this Miami job. And now after everything we found out, right? Like, I don't want to hear about the statements from Miami. Why would Mike McDaniel want to be the next head coach with that absolute, pardon my French, shit show that is going on in Miami right now?
Yeah, I agree. He should run from that job. I have a guess for the next assistant coach, but Javi, you got one?
No, I don't have a guess, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Bobby Slowick or something. You know what I mean? Someone like that who needs to be the next OC for Kyle, like to say, hey, you'll be my assistant head coach or whatever, because at some point McDaniel's going to leave. So Bobby Slowick, to me, seems like the next inline OC that they're going to have. D'Amico, maybe. I don't see it. Maybe Jed York is the assistant head coach. I don't know.
Okay, I have a guess. Tell me what you guys think. To me, I think it's going to be another position coach. I think it's a position coach whose contract is probably up that we didn't realize, who's very sought after and might get cashed out by a team like Ohio State or USC or whoever. I think it's Kosaric. I think it's Chris Kosaric. I think his contract's probably up, and they're probably already given him 7 figures, and they're trying to figure out ways to keep him here, because I think probably someone's thinking, man, what if we give him $2 million? I mean, that's a great defensive line. I think it's Kosaric. That's my guess. We'll see.
What do you mean, Grant? What do you mean? You gotta save money.
What?
You gotta save money for coaches.
It's true. It's true, because there's a salary cap there, and the Niners are only worth.
Watch the salary cap.
Kosaric.
I don't know.
We shall see. Let's take some more questions. Isaac says Aaron Banks still needs to show what he got.
Yep, agreed.
Jesse says salute to 3 legends. Well, thank you. Okay, I got one more topic I want to talk. Now I'll let you guys go. There's a 49ers fan in a coma. And he was at the NFC Championship game. He was there by himself. He was wearing a Niners jersey. He got beat up in the parking lot after the game. It's a tragic story. I hate stories like this. It happened to Brian Stowe 10 years ago, a Giants fan in Dodger Stadium. And all I want to say is, Niner fans, it's cool that you took over SoFi, and it's really great, but you should be careful. It's really kind of scary to think about going to LA and just wearing red by yourself at night. To me, it's a scary proposition, and you guys should be careful. This should never happen to anyone ever again. I'm sorry that this happened to someone. It's a tragedy. That's all I wanted to say. Be careful.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. You go to road games, I always go with people, right?
Go with
You just
people.
never know. I'm not much of a, I don't antagonize other fan bases. Like, I just go watch the game, have a good time. I talk. I don't like talk, excuse my language, talk shit to anybody.
Yeah.
At home games, yeah, court, you're a little more rowdy at a home game, but on the road, you got to just be careful with that kind of stuff. I was at the Cowboys playoff game, the Niners Cowboy playoff game. Guy in front of me was just being mad disrespectful. He's a Cowboy fan, talking hella shit. I'm like, all right, man, look at the scoreboard, buddy. I just kept doing that at this point of the scoreboard because that's just all it is. That's all it is. Just be better. It's At the end of the day, this is just football. Like, literally, this means nothing in your spectrum of life. Like, the Niners season ended. Guess what? I have other stuff to do, like my job, watch some scouts. Come on, it's just football. At the end of the day.
I also don't get hating your rivals. Like, it's cool to have a rivalry.
Absolutely.
Why do you hate them? What's the you guys are in a special moment together. You guys should be. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, LA's different. LA's all about colors and sets and stuff. And if you walk around and you're wearing red, look, here's the thing. I covered the last game, week 18. I wasn't wearing colors, but I left by myself to walk 3 miles through Inglewood. And at a mile in, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a freaking walking lick right now. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I have a laptop in my backpack. I'm asking to get jumped. What am I doing? So I basically try flag down a taxi for my life. And they were like, okay, what's your life worth? $80, $60. I'm like, yeah, basically, let's do it. So yeah, just be careful. It's not Levi's South. Levi's is in a very quiet area of the Bay where nothing happens. That is different. That is not your home turf, man. Just be real careful. Careful.
And to piggyback a little bit off what Javi said, man. It is just football. People have families. Yeah. Like I'm gutted to find out that he has a wife, he has a family. And there were people that he was supposed to meet up with that didn't meet up with him. And look, at the end of the day, man, we're passionate. That's fine. Just get home to your family and go enjoy the game, man, and just go get home to your family. It's so sad to hear something like this. And then what's the worst part about it is that they found him during the game. So people were just walking over him, stepping over him, and just like, oh, well, the lack of compassion from anybody that was there to figure out what's going on with him is disturbing. And, I don't know the circumstances. I don't know if he was antagonizing anything like that.
Doesn't matter.
We had banter, back and forth, me and Rams fans. I'm from the East Coast where anytime I go to a Jets game, someone gets knocked out. A Jets fan knocks either one of their own fans out or the opposing team out because they have this pent-up aggression. So I know the vibes. I know that. But at the same time, it's not worth it, guys. We're all passionate and we all care, right? And things like that. But like Javi said, I have to get home to my daughter. I have to get home and take care of my family. I'm not going to risk all of that by either one, putting myself in a position where you end up in a coma, or two, end up in jail. And for what? That football team's not going to bail you out. That football team's not going to send any money to your family. That football team's not going to go to your funeral, God forbid, or something like that. So it's a sad situation all around. And I understand passions run high. The problem is that the NFL is in bed with alcohol, right? And what do you do before the game? You get hammered before the game at the tailgate. You drink at the game. You drink after the game. And when you mix the aggression of football and
the emotions of winning and losing,
right, emotions of winning and losing, and people getting hit and things like that, and all of that stuff together, it can lead to things like this. You should use this as a learning tool to be better. That's it, man. It's very sad that there's a family now that has someone who is in a dire situation now because he wanted to go to a football game. And I don't know what he said again. I'm not trying to talk about that, but it's just sad. It's sad all around. As a family man, as a guy with a daughter, come on, man. We just have to be better at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just the last thing I want to keep coming back to is Niner fans. I travel, you travel. Niner fans travel really well, and the whole Niner fan takeover thing is really cool. But you got to do the buddy system, especially in LA. If you don't know, I went to school. It's one thing to go to Green Bay and do that, and they'll be very accommodating to you in Green Bay. But in LA, walking around with red by yourself, I mean, I just wouldn't do it. Be careful. Don't take this stuff lightly. This is serious.
After the game was over, I was walking with my buddy that we were at the game, and we're wearing red. And I'm like, I look up at the street sign, and I'm like, does that say Crenshaw?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, we need to get out of here.
Dude, it's not a joke.
Forget the football game. I was like, I'm in a red hoodie.
It's not a game. That's what they do in LA. That's what they've been doing in LA. I'm not trying to say that guy should have known better, of course, but I'm just saying, everyone, this is a sobering wake up. Those games down in LA, it's potentially, it's like remember the Niner Raider preseason games, the kind of fights that would break. It's going to be like that whenever these games happen. So be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Like, I grew up in Philadelphia, so
yeah,
Philly's like that too. So
I'm just going to go through my comments for until the show's over. You guys are welcome to kick it or go chill. I mean, my Rhino says, I'd like to see free agent Cordell Patterson in the backfield with Debo and Trey. Yeah, that's a natural, right? I'd like to have them on the field together. You could motion one in the backfield, the other. You never know who's going to play you could go empty and be super dangerous. I think that's tight. That's what Hurd could have been, the second running back, wide receiver on the field at the same time. Hey, is Hurd going to make a comeback?
No.
What the hell was that? He didn't want to play football? I guess he didn't want to play football.
I can't believe you just brought up Hurd. Like, while
what's up with Hurd? What's up with Joe Williams? Joe Williams, look at it. Dude, you could have been you, man. Anthony Stanko. What a name. Thank you very much. Anthony Stanko. Hella comments. Hold on. So what's the plan tonight? Hold on. You've been right on Greenlaw since the summer, Jason, says Keith.
Appreciate you,
Keith. Hobby too. Lance will stretch the field so much, Weeds fans won't recognize Kyle's playbook. Change my mind. Trey Area.
He won't. I don't think we have to change our mind, buddy. Just go back and look at the 2017 Atlanta Falcons pass charts for Matt Ryan, and then look at the Texans game for Trey Lance. Eerily similar on how much the air yards matter with Kyle Shanahan and how Kyle had to mask Jimmy Garoppolo this entire time. Why do
you think Kyle and Mike McDaniel became run game gurus the last 5 years? Because of Jimmy? Because they had to.
I think the best way to describe it was like you have a head coach handcuffed by his quarterback and a quarterback handcuffed by his head coach. That's what the last 4 years was.
Rod says Trey Sermon can be packaged with Jimmy and Texans would be perfect fit. Maybe we throw in a sixth and get back a second and a fourth. Trey is expendable and young. Trey Sermon. Is he worth anything though? Third round running back who didn't play as a rookie. What's his value right now? If we sign Bosa and Debo with their cap, will their cap numbers start this year or next year? Yes, true. They wouldn't be very expensive in the short term. It'd be down the line, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Debo would be literally not this year, but the year after, and then Bosa would be 2 years because that fifth-year option would kick in. So yeah, they'd be relatively cheap for the next 2 years, and then their extensions would kick in, kind of the way Kittle's did and Armstead's did, and then who else they signed? Fred's did. So Fred's money starts this year. Kittle's money starts this year.
Right, exactly.
Armstead started this year, yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy was always carried by the team. He's just a decent burrito with really good salsa on it. I love the analogies for what Jimmy is. That's hilarious. I said he's vanilla with no sprinkles.
What's wrong with vanilla ice cream? It gets the job done. Oh,
it's nice with other things. You got to have some pie, maybe a little chocolate sauce. You can't just give someone a bowl of vanilla ice cream and be like, enjoy. Like, what do you mean? You got nothing else?
It'll get the job done if you have a sweet tooth.
Jimmy gets the job done, I guess.
Some Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream is fine. It is fine.
That's vanilla bean, though. That's a whole. I would not say that Jimmy Garoppolo is vanilla bean. My wife is from Fiji, and she says that the vanilla ice cream there is actually legitimately amazing, and that it's like way different than it is here. I've never been, so I don't know. If anyone's been to Fiji, let me know. Grant put in Kyle's ear about Christian Watson. I think Trey can do that.
Yeah. Croc got a chance to talk with him and ask him questions about, like he said he would love to link up with Trey, but again,
what
the pick feels. Yeah, that's the thing is I'll let Javi say this, but whatever. But it's like I think it's redundant, but like Javi has a theory about where he'll land in the draft, so I'll let him talk.
Yeah, I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's a Niner. I don't think he's gonna go high either. He's got a small frame. He's got good speed, decent run blocker. Um, but to me, he seems like he's just a D2 guy that's just going to end up being, he's going to go somewhere where he'll be the, fourth, fifth guy on the roster. I don't think he's going to have this breakout ability just because he has, familiarity with Trey. What the Niners need, and people might hate this, but the Niners need a Brandon Cooks type. They need that type of guy, someone who's going to stretch the field no matter what. I know Ayuk can do it. Debo can do it. Yeah. So you and Watson's not that guy. But they need a piece that's not redundant. You need
they have Travis Benjamin, Hobby. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Oh, But yeah, that's
time
what
he's on the field.
Oh
my God, Kyle, what are you doing? Why is he on the field? Sorry, but you're right.
It's like he's like disguising. He's like, it's gonna be a clear out. No one's running with Benjamin. Like no one cares. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. That Niner guy says pay cut was probably because of the demotion, but yeah, why cut his pay? Bisaccia, our in-house guy, also Jason F. Those clowns, trade Greenlaw linebacker factory. Yeah, that's why I keep saying like, man, you want to strip him of the title and give it to Kostrick to keep him, fine, but there's no reason to cut his salary. Such a slap in the face. You don't need the money, and don't tell me that all position coaches are paid the same because I don't think they are. I think Kostrick's already making 7 figures. Like you don't need to do that to the guy. It's basically you do that to him if there's something personal like. They had a fight and you're trying to stick it to him. That's the only way you want him to leave if you're doing something like that. Just fire him, man. Just fire him.
And shout out to that Niner guy. There was somebody else in your comments that was saying like, "Yo, Jay, you need to stop worrying about what people are saying. Like, just trust your own analysis." And here we go. No, we're going back to that one. Go, you.
Chris says, "Why not trade Kittle and move Juice to tight end?" Wow, what an interesting suggestion. I've never heard someone say trade Kittle. Why would you do that? Well. He did kind of come off a down season for him. His tight end coach just got traded. He's really, really great friends with Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's almost 30. I guess those would be the reasons. What do you think?
And then the reason not to trade him is that dead cap. He's really good. Yeah. Dead cap numbers in 2022 is like $4.5 million. But the problem is 2023. That's $8.5 million in dead cap. Niners aren't going to put themselves in that financial situation, especially, after paying, who they're going to be paying. And then hopefully in 2 years, Trey Lance is who they thought he was. So you want to get that extension done sooner. You need all that money to get those things done. So yeah, I would not, I like George Kittle. Would I trade George Kittle? Yes, but not right now. I would wait to see where that's at. But I think the age, the injury issues with Kittle, and can his production be replaced? I don't know. I mean, there's guys that are out there, OJ Howard, and Njoku. Those guys just haven't been utilized correctly in their own offenses. Could Kyle possibly get something out of those guys in replacement of him? Right? We saw how volatile the Kittle extension was. The entire process was not smooth. You would think a guy who did what he did, that would be like a no-brainer contract. Nah. We read the Mike Silver report. It was called the massacre, because they insulted him on the price point and everything else. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see why you would trade him now, but it's probably on the table at some point down the road.
Wow. The way I look at it is you definitely don't want to take weapons away from Trey Lance as he's making this transition to replace Jimmy. You want to keep Kittle and Debo and Ayuk. So, but if Kittle's doesn't want to be a part of this and he's disgruntled about the direction of the team, then you don't really have a choice. I don't know that he is, but I guess we'll just have to see how things shake out because it seems like he was quite vocal behind closed scenes about his preference for quarterback this past season, behind closed doors. So I don't know about moving Juszczyk to tight end, but trading Kittle, interesting suggestion. George says I have a lot of Crips in those areas. You have to be careful. If you're wearing red, you are a walking target in LA. Be stupid, not smart. Yeah, people, if you don't know that it's colors are a big deal in that city, and just be cognizant of the fact that you're wearing one of the colors that you shouldn't be wearing. And
forget football. There's something bigger going on around there than football.
Not like this in the Bay or really anywhere else in the country. It's something that's very specific to LA. If no one wants to pick up Jimmy in a trade, will Jimmy take a pay cut and play his trade backup to save his relationship with Kittle?
Wow. Absolutely not.
Hell no. Nope. He's got pride, and he sees himself as what do you say is a future ahead of him, long career. I wish some of these Jimmy fans grew up in the 80s and 90s with me to know what real Niner quarterbacks look like, and they'd understand. It's an age thing, pretty much.
Or just look around the league and watch Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, guys who can do things down the field. I don't know.
All right, that's the show. What do you guys got on tap for the rest of the day in Mobile? Is it still raining?
Yeah, it's still raining.
I'm really sorry. Well,
it's all right. I mean,
what's it called? Draft picks? Are you gonna go draft picks?
No, well, not there. We gotta go find some, maybe the Waffle.
We've already done draft picks. You got to see the next part of Mobile, right?
No, let's pull up to the Waffle House and let's get some breakfast.
Oh!
I mean, I know it's 1:00 or whatever, but it's like, man, it's
the
time
food
to eat,
good?
man. Yeah, Waffle House, hell yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it depends on where you go. Like certain places are just like, like bar food that's like mid, like whatever, like bar food anywhere that you go, but there's certain places that are better. Like we went to this spot called it's like a beer garden. I had like one of the best burgers I've had like in my life there. It was like amazing. And they had like a whole sheet, like Kyle Shanahan's play sheet is like, it was like that beer. Oh, speaking of that, Grant, I got to talk about it real quick before I go. For anybody out there, did anybody see the fake Kyle Shanahan in the stands?
Yes, he was so good. He looked exactly like him. Who is that guy?
He walked right past me and I couldn't resist, man. I was like, dude, I need a picture, man. It was so good. It was so perfect, man. Like, I know we talked. Yeah, hell yeah. I took a picture with him and everything. There's no way I was letting my coach walk by me and not get a picture with him. But like, we talked too. Yeah, he looks just like him, dude. He had the headset, he had the play sheet, everything, man. So what's funny is, that we complain about like a toxic portion of the fan base, but I feel like that's just a small representation of the fan base that's on Twitter. Our fan base is awesome, man. Like for reasons like that, man. Like he walked by and I was like, Coach, I was like, ain't no way. I was like, picture, bro. And he was just like, yeah, let's get it. Dude, it's just so good. Like no matter what happens, right? Like no matter what happened in that game, and I guess I'll end it with this. I'll never forget the experience of being in SoFi. But this loss was easier to take because I know what's coming now. Right? Like this team that isn't like in flux in terms of like what direction are they going? Like it's Trey's time now. So it's like, okay, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for this, whatever. Cool. Now get the ball rolling, turn the page, close the book. And I think that's what makes this loss easier to handle. Is that now you know where they're going.
To me, it's like we've been watching a Netflix special for 5 seasons, and the main character like it's a great show, but it just so happens that the main character in the show, the actor's like not that good. And they're like, man, but now in season 6, they're like jumping 20 years in the future, and it's a new actor, and it's like freaking someone really good who's at acting. And it's like, oh, this is finally going to be the best season ever. And that's how I feel. I'm really excited that we no longer have to watch the equivalent of what kind of actor would Jimmy Garoppolo be? Which actor is he?
He's a handsome guy who gets a lot of roles. Jason Momoa.
And has like no personality every time in every movie. Who would he be? It would be.
Hold on, Javi. We're not going to slander Matthew McConaughey because
the dude from like Entourage or.
Yeah, no, that's why I said Jason Momoa.
Matthew McConaughey has way too much personality to be compared to Jimmy Garoppolo. No, Jimmy Garoppolo could never do half the things. No,
Jason Momoa is a good-looking guy who has muscles and all that stuff, and like the acting is like sub-level. That's why he was Aquaman. That's why they're asking him to be in the new Fast and Furious now at this point. Yeah, it's like
remember
okay,
Justin Long when we were kids, the guy who was in that like Accepted movie. He was in Dodgeball. Justin Long. That's Jimmy.
Yeah,
these comments something else.
Yeah,
I'm not reading that.
All right, so we're talking about Jimmy. I swear, we were not going to do that anymore. He's off the team. It's Trey time. It's Trey time. Thanks for joining me from Mobile, guys. I was really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be back another time. See you.